Meanwhile, Vincent Kompany, as we discussed yesterday, being heavily linked to a move to Bayern Munich. We just wanted to bring this up because we haven't heard your boys' opinion on this as we welcome in. Kieran's back with us, as is Frank. Frank, what do you make of this?
Big surprise. When I heard the news, I said, wow, unbelievable. The guy is relegated with his club and he's going to sign for Bayern Munich. But it is what it is. And I believe that he has all the tools to do something good, hopefully. I was told that he speaks German, so it's a very good point. And his experience as a player, he's going to have the respect of the dressing room because of what he did during his career. It's up to him to be the top man in that dressing room where we know that many things can happen. But why not? It's a good gamble. It's a dangerous one, but it's an interesting one.
If you're one of the senior members, Kieran, within that dressing room, the likes of Neuer or Thomas Müller, how are you feeling about someone as inexperienced as Vincent Kompany, certainly managerially, coming in?
Well, I think that those players know the situation of Bayern at the moment, you know, with their search for a manager and, you know, some of the problems that they've had this season. I think they will be a little bit surprised. It's a huge step up for Kompany, obviously. But I think for Bayern, I think it probably came down to the character of Vincent Kompany that tipped the decision. You know, he's obviously shown what he can do with the promotion with Burnley. You know, we know it was a step too far in the Prem with the budget that he had, but I think it was clear from that season that he does have something. But for me, it's the character, his professionalism. You know, he's obviously got that continued thirst for more knowledge of the game. It is a risk, but you know, we've seen over the last 18 months, 2 seasons, where managers have just come out of nowhere, you know, and taken big jobs. Look at the likes of Arteta, Alonso, and you know, I don't think there's a doubt that Kompany's going to have a long managerial career. You can tell how much he wants it. It just remains to be seen whether that'll be at Bayern or not. But I definitely think he deserves a chance. I think, you know, he has the personality to deal with the demands of a club like Bayern, and I think he's got the humility and the emotional intelligence, I would say, to deal with big characters in the team.
It says a lot about Bayern, doesn't it?
Well, if that's where you're going, you're getting a manager who just got relegated.
I mean, short of putting an advertisement in the newspaper, they tried everything else, didn't they? I mean, and fair play, and not that Vincent Kompany's a bad manager, but he's inexperienced, pretty inexperienced, you know. Working at Burnley's not working at Bayern. Yes, Nagelsmann went in there, he was a younger coach, but he had more experience.
People would throw Xavi Alonso and say, yeah, but look, he had no experience when he came.
And look, I think Vincent Kompany has got something about him for sure, and I don't think he'll be frightened of walking into any dressing room. He's a guy who's won a lot of silverware in his career, and he's a big old unit. He'll walk in and players will have to listen. The good news for him, he's got a few centre-backs he's going to have to do a lot of work on.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So he should know a bit about that. But it says to me that it tells you more about Bayern than Vincent Kompany.
Right.
It definitely tells you about Bayern, but I think it tells you about what's happening in the game today. Nobody, regardless of their reputation, seems to get any time to do anything. I mean, it was interesting, Kieran brought up he's got a thirst for knowledge. You know, teams like Bayern Munich used to get a guy who had gained all the knowledge, because that's how you had to be to take over a club like Bayern Munich. But because nobody gets any time now, there's such a regurgitation of coaches that you're running out of guys with experience. You've ended
they've
up...
all turned them down. They've all turned Bayern down, haven't they?
But even so, you've ended up with somebody like Vincent Kompany because there's really not that many around. Or certainly not many that haven't failed. So it's just the way the game is now. And quite honestly, it is a complete and utter gamble. I mean, really, Vincent Kompany, his CV does not spell Bayern Munich on it.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of guys. There's a bunch. Sorry, Frank. There's a bunch of guys in all different leagues, from France to Spain to Italy to Germany to England. If we're taking the 5 big European leagues, who you'd all go. You could probably pick 5 or 6 at least from all the main leagues and go, I'd have him over Vincent Kompany, right? You know, if they hired Michel from Girona, you go, oh, I can see that. Yeah, that was that bit of a left field, but you know what? He's got Girona up into... They were fighting for the league at one point. If they took De Zerbi or Postecoglou or Unai Emery or any of those guys, you know, if they went to Inter and took Inzaghi, if they went to Atalanta and took Gasperini, there's a load of them.
You can come up with a reason, right?
You could come up with all of these guys and say, I tell you what, you know, take Gasperini, for example. The job he's done there, they've just won the Europa League. He's done amazing things with a small budget, and the way they play football is incredible. So there are a bunch, and you're not telling me all these guys would have said no. So it is a bit strange that they had to pick the top guys. A lot of the top guys didn't want it, but there are guys just underneath in all the leagues that I think would have jumped at it before and above Vincent Kompany.
Go on, Frank.
Yeah, if I agree with Stevie and Craig about the fact that you could find, you know, another coach with more experience, you have to put a list down on the players, on those coaches who would be interesting to come to Bayern Munich. So if you take the top of the top, there are only few of them who could go there, but I think most of them don't want to go because of the mess that you can face and knowing that it's going to be a problem there. Then after you go down to some problem with the society is where I join Stevie in his arguments about the fact that nowadays we give a chance, which is maybe a good thing, to some inexperienced players because we want to go fast and we don't care about the experience and we don't take the time and pause a little bit to understand what you have to get. I think about a coach, the coach of Lens, who played the Champions League. Frank has been 4 years with Lens, at the top of the league in Liga, thinking that he has more experience than Vincent Kompany. But he's not fashion. Nobody knows him, so maybe they don't know him, so they don't put attention to him. And it's where I joined Craig in the way that they could have found maybe somebody with more experience, maybe not at the top of or top coaches, but it goes a little bit everywhere. And it's sad for football because I think it doesn't put the balance that football needs to make sure that you get something you deserve. Right now, we give a lot to people who don't deserve, players or coaches. I'm not saying Vincent Kompany doesn't deserve it, but it's a gamble. It's a real gamble.
Can you imagine when his agent rang him? He must have thought it was a wind-up.
Of course.
Did they do
do
wind-ups these days?
that tells you everything you need to know. When his agent rang him, I bet his first words were Vincent Kompany.
Yes, I bet. Yeah,
yeah, all right.
I bet it was naughty. Yeah.